Good afternoon, I'm Rob Boskamp, and you're listening to South Texas Midday. Happy Friday, it's December 19th. House Bill 2 will bring significant changes to classroom staffing requirements across the state. Beginning next year, districts will be required to ensure every core subject teacher is fully certified, ending the practice of hiring uncertified teachers for those positions.
By next school year, anybody teaching a core foundational subject in elementary would have to be fully certified. Anybody who has a degree can currently be a teacher in CCISD, and they work towards certification.
That was Dr. John Prezas, CCISD Assistant Superintendent for School Leadership, speaking with KRAS 6 News. While electives are exempt from those requirements, districts will be limited in creating their own certification pathways. CCISD's Associate Teacher Program, which allows anyone with a degree to become a teacher in CCISD while working towards certification, will be affected by the changes. With House Bill 2 tightening certification options, CCISD is requesting an extension from the state, hoping to delay implementation of the new rules until the 2029-2030 school year. Kingsville ISD hosted a community forum Wednesday to outline future plans. They addressed years of low accountability ratings, a $4.2 million budget deficit, and declining enrollment.
The allotment that we get for the students, which is 6,160. If you multiply that for the number of students that we have lost, that's close to $2 million.
That was KISD Superintendent Dr. Luz Martinez speaking at Wednesday's meeting, audio courtesy of KRAS 6 News. Martinez explained that declining enrollment has impacted the district's funding. Over the past 6 years, KISD has lost over 500 students. The district has applied for grants and proposed consolidating elementary schools. The plan would close Pettis and Harrell Elementary Schools, repurpose Clayburg Elementary for pre-K through second grade, and designate Harvey Elementary for third through fifth grade.
When you consolidate those ages, you're able to have more appropriate resources for those students. So they're going to get more attention. They're going to get the services that they need.
That was former KISD board member Elizabeth Ramos speaking with KRIS. The district plans to hold additional community meetings next year to continue discussions on improvement efforts. The next community forum and school improvement plan presentation is set for January 14th. The Victoria ISD Safety and Security Committee met on Wednesday to hear updates on items like emergency operations plans, an intruder detection audit overview, and fall maintenance checks reviews. The Victoria Advocate reports that the district submitted its basic emergency operations plans and active threat for schools annex in September. Last month, the district received an informal notice of deficiency in the active threat for schools annex. The district was required to make a change to the plan and resubmit for further review. In the district's original plan, the superintendent was not designated as the incident commander for incident types 4 and 5, which constitute incidents of less severity and are handled locally. The Texas School Safety Center requested that the superintendent be designated as the incident commander for all incident levels, as well as a single decision maker be listed for all emergency types. Halo Flight broke ground on a new Communications and Operations Center. The new building will feature classrooms and flight simulators for pilot and medical training. It also will allow dispatchers to monitor aircraft systems in real time and assist pilots mid-flight. Halo Flight currently operates 6 helicopters but can only store 3 at their current facility.
We have a brand new fleet of aircraft, and right now some of the systems they have we can't really utilize because our dispatch center is a little out of date.
That was CEO Travis Patterson speaking to KRAS 6 News. Halo Flight is the only air ambulance serving South Texas. This year, more than 1,200 people were provided emergency medical transport across the region. KEDT's election coverage 2026 continues this afternoon. Democrat Dr. Etienne Rosas is looking to upset District 34 Representative Vicente Gonzalez. He spoke with Spencer Chihawk about why he ran.
Despite loving my life as it was, and despite all the dedication I had done to the world of policy and music, I thought at this point it was crucial for democracy to be built from the bottom up and to kind of foster these movements that might reshape or give us a way forward. And I just wasn't seeing the leadership present, especially at this crucial time for the Rio Grande Valley, which is where I'm from, when people are being, snatched off the street by ICE, when the economy is undergoing all of these shocks, and people are struggling. And then on top of it, you have a soon-to-be trillionaire, taking up an entire beach for himself and his own projects. So I thought this kind of thing needed a strong voice, an energy that was based off of the community to retake the narrative and to provide a way forward. And that's why I decided to, use my energy towards that direction.
You can hear the full interview later this hour following South Texas Midday. And it was another eventful week in South Texas in the ongoing water crisis. Spencer Chioc is joined once again by Rio Grande Valley Business Journal managing editor Naxiele Lopez Puente to find out more. Good afternoon, guys.
Thank you, Rob. I'm Spencer Chioc, happy to be joined once again by Rio Grande Valley Business Journal managing editor Naxiele Lopez Puente. Thank you once again for taking the time.
Of course. Thank you so much, Spencer, for having us on again.
Last time we spoke, this water dispute was escalating. Since then, President Trump threatened tariffs and Mexico agreed to release the water. What happened?
Well, like we talked about last week, this was no longer just a water issue. As soon as President Trump threatened a 5% tariff on all goods from Mexico, that really spurred a change. And the Mexican president responded pretty quickly. And, Mexico did agree to release some of the water that it owes the U.S.
Would you describe this tariff threat as a turning point in these negotiations?
Absolutely. And it's not just me. We received a letter from the Texas International Produce Association, which, for those that don't know, is a nonprofit that represents every company, anybody that touches produce, whether it's imported or it's grown here. And so the farmers here really credited President Trump for his threat and for moving the issue forward. So yeah, that threat really did cause some positive consequences for our valley growers.
What exactly did Mexico agree to?
Every 5 years, Mexico is supposed to deliver about 1.7 million acre feet of water. And so for those that don't know what an acre foot of water, it's basically the amount of water that it would take to flood an acre, which is about the size of a football field, in 1 foot of water. To put that into perspective, that is an acre foot of water is about half of an Olympic-sized swimming pool. And so in any case, Mexico was supposed to deliver 1.7 million acre feet, and this cycle would just ended in October. As of then, they still owed about half of that amount. So they still owe about 800,000 acre feet of water to the US. And so what Mexico agreed to do was, hey, we don't have all of it right now. We can't release those 800 acre feet, but you know what? We'll give you 25%. And so Mexico has agreed to release about 200,000 acre feet of water.
That's quite a lot of swimming pools.
Yeah, 400,000 to, put it more or less into perspective.
Does that mean water is finally moving into the valley?
I can't say for sure if those deliveries have already happened, but they were supposed to start this week, as early as Monday. But whether that has happened or not, I can't say for sure.
And what does that mean for the farmers in the valley?
So the farmers are glad, right? But you have to understand that farming isn't, this water delivery is sort of a one-time thing, right? And with the idea that they're going to keep giving water. But farmers are kind of concerned that, Mexico hasn't kept its word before. And so when it comes to farming, they're still very skeptical because they have to plan ahead, right? They have to plan in cycles. And so just because there's water right now doesn't mean that next year there'll be water. And so they're still concerned.
Looking ahead to next year, what conversations are being had right now to keep this crisis from happening again?
Sure. So some of the things that our local congressional representatives are suggesting is, like we talked about last week, adding some of these provisions into the USMCA, because under the USMCA, which is going to come up for review next year, there is a provision that basically talks about shared resources between the three countries. And if the Rio Grande River is not one of the most important resources that we share with Mexico, then I don't know what is.
Bottom line, did this solve the water crisis in South Texas?
Unfortunately not. This is not the entire solution. It helps, but our water needs extend much further than just the water that Mexico owes us. So it does help, but there's still other issues to address.
You've talked about those negotiations next year. Is there anything else people should keep an eye on going into 2026?
Really, like you said, those biggest things are making sure that Mexico continues to deliver its water, right? And then seeing if it is eventually tied to the USMCA.
Rio Grande Valley Business Journal Managing Editor Naxieli Lopez Puente, thank you so much for taking the time today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Spencer.
And that is the latest news and information on South Texas Midday. I'm Rob Boskamp. Your community arts calendar and more is on the way.